You fall in love. Then comes the difficult task of planning the perfect wedding. Lifting the veil, an inside look at wedding planning. And here's your host, Wedding Entertainment Director, Larry Williams.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm coming to you from the resort at Red Hawk here in beautiful Wingfield Springs, a popular and beautiful golf club resort here in the Truckee Meadows. Check it out sometime. Today's episode is all about wedding ceremonies and how to put them together effectively. It's part of a two-part series. Part one, I'm going to be talking about the musicians and DJ you might be thinking about hiring and how to utilize them effectively. In part two of the series, I'm going to talk about selecting wedding ceremony music. So important, and I'm going to give you some great tips on how to pick some great stuff. So it's all coming up on today's episode of Lifting the Veil, right after the break.
Turn your wedding dreams into reality and find the area's best vendors in one convenient location. Visit the Northern Nevada Bridal Association at thennba.com.
Welcome back. So as you're giving consideration on who to hire to handle the music for your wedding ceremony, I want you to think about some very important things. First off, your ceremony is going to be maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes long. But the musical enjoyment that the guests will enjoy will take place for a longer period of time. People call me all the time and say, well, we need somebody to handle the music, and we only need the marches. Well, that's not necessarily true. You want to think of your wedding ceremony as a 1 hour time span. Again, your ceremony is going to be 10, 15, 20 minutes. But if you put on your invitations for the nuptials to begin, say, at 4 o'clock, you're going to want pre-ceremony music to start at 3:30. You always want your pre-ceremony music beginning a half hour before the ceremony start time. And that's because in that half hour, that's when the majority of your guests will be arriving. So whether you're hiring musicians or a band or a DJ, you want that music to be set up, ready to go. So the setup time is prior to that. They're not adjusting bags or saying testing 1, 2, 3 on a microphone. You want everything set up and organized to where when that first guest walks onto the property a half hour beforehand, they're walking into a celebration that's about ready to start. The music is playing and setting the tone and setting the atmosphere for the ceremony that's about to begin. So whether it's a DJ or whether it's musicians, it could be a harpist, a guitarist, a string quartet, it doesn't matter. You want that music playing for a half hour of pre-ceremony music. Now, keep in mind one very important thing. Weddings don't always start on time. In fact, oftentimes they're a few minutes late, could be 5, 10 minutes late. So again, all the more reason to have a great selection of pre-ceremony music, which we'll talk about in part 2 of this series. But again, you want those musicians or that DJ playing pre-ceremony music for a half hour. Then there's the 10, 15, 20-minute ceremony itself. If you're working with a sound company or a DJ, they're likely going to have a wireless microphone for the officiant. Wireless clip-on lavalier mics are always better than handhelds because they look better for pictures. But then again, there are officiants who do wish to have a handheld mic. And of course, you might need a handheld mic or a mic on a mic stand if somebody's doing a reading at the wedding. So keep that in mind. So after the marches are played, which will be the bridesmaids processional and of course the bride's processional, you're going to have the ceremony itself, and then at the tail end of that, there will be the recessional song. That's one song that's generally played at the tail end of the ceremony. From that point, you might want the musicians or the DJ to play another song or 2 or 3 to round out that hour while guests are then transitioning from the ceremony area back to where the reception will take place. Could be indoors, but there's a time span of 5 or 10 minutes where music is best served playing right there during that transitional time. So guests, again, are welcomed with music, and as they depart the ceremony area, they will be ushered back to where the reception is, and music is still playing, where again, music will welcome them there at the reception area. So think of a 1 hour time frame for your ceremony, especially when hiring musicians or a DJ. So coming up in our next segment, I will talk more about how to pick the ceremony music for your wedding ceremony. Thanks for tuning in.
If you're planning an upcoming wedding, consider this. The Reno Tahoe DJ Company is a nationally recognized provider of first-class wedding entertainment. Professional, experienced, appropriate. Expect the finest in quality from the first consultation to the final dance.
The Reno Tahoe DJ Company, referred by more wedding professionals and preferred by more brides. Visit renodj.com. Welcome back to part 2 of my wedding ceremony music series. In part 1, I discussed the advantages of hiring musicians or a DJ to handle the pre-ceremony music, thinking of it like an hour with pre-ceremony, the ceremony itself, and then the recessional music or a couple songs afterwards for that very important transitional period while guests are departing the ceremony area and going back to the reception area. Very important to think of that musical time span as 1 hour. Now, here in part 2, I'm going to give you some great ideas on how to select the ceremony music. Now, you might be thinking, pre-ceremony music, what should we have? What should we have for the marches? Here's a great tip. It's kind of like a insider secret, if you will. Start with the bride's processional. The song the bride's going to walk down the aisle with whoever is giving her away. Start with that song and work your way backwards. Here's why. If the bride is traditional and wants the traditional song by Wagner, that's the Here Comes the Bride music, dun dun da da, dun dun da da. If she wants that song, could be an acoustic guitar, string quartet, church organ, there's so many different variations of that song. If she wants to keep it traditional, then it's very likely that she'll want to pick something, or you'll want to pick something that is more traditional for the bridesmaid's processional, possibly Pachelbel Canon in D, or Trumpet Voluntary. And likewise, you're going to maybe want music from Tchaikovsky and Bach and other classical artists to play for that half-hour pre-ceremony music. But let's say the bride wants to walk down to a Frank Sinatra song or a Luke Bryan song or some contemporary music. Well, it would be really odd to play classical music for a half-hour pre-ceremony now, wouldn't it? So think of it that way. If the bride is going traditional, you want to play traditional music that complements it. If the bride is going non-traditional and using a vocal song of any sort, it couldn't, not even necessarily a vocal song, it could be a New Age song. You want to pick New Age music for the pre-ceremony music. Again, music that complements what the bride is walking down the aisle to. So think of it that way. Also, make sure to talk to your musician or your DJ, because you might be scrambling trying to find a perfect rendition of the bride's march on YouTube or on the internet. And let me tell you, if that musician's been around for a while, or if that DJ has been doing this for a long time, trust me, they are going to have all the best versions you could ever ask for a bride's march and the bridesmaid's processional. They have them. Okay, no need to scour the internet, because you know these people, this is their livelihood, and they are always going to have the best versions of a string quartet or of a church organ or of acoustic guitar or any other flute or whatever you want for the bride's march. So kind of keep that in mind. Don't waste a lot of your time on the internet going to YouTube. Talk to the musician or DJ you've hired. They're really going to help you out in this area. So again, a lot of people for pre-ceremony music are using things like Vitamin String Quartet, or one of my favorites, James Bartholomew, a great fingertip style guitar player, plays acoustic guitar, great music, and he plays contemporary songs that are instrumental. So those are really nice too, to complement what the bride is walking down the aisle to. Here's another thing about the bridesmaid's processional. There could be two songs. There could be a song just for the ushers who bring the parents and grandparents down, and another song for the bridesmaids and groomsmen. Or you could have one longer song for the parents to be ushered and grandparents, as well as the bridesmaids to walk down the aisle. That could be one song or two. So kind of think of it that way too. Now, for the recessional song, what to choose? You want it to be different. Now, you could still, if you're going very traditional and you're using Pachelbel Canon in D for the bridesmaids processional, and you're using the Wagner piece for the bride's processional, sure, you might want to use the Mendelssohn piece, which is a theme from A Midsummer Night's Dream, to be the recessional song. That's the quintessential popular classical piece. But let's say you're not so traditional. It's very common to choose a song after you've been pronounced as husband and wife for that recessional music to be fun, bouncy, and upbeat. It's a very celebratory time right there that leads right into cocktail hour. So give that some thought too. The recessional song could be completely removed from the classical stylings or softer sounds you use for pre-ceremony music and the marches. Because remember, you got a time space of 10-15 minutes in between that bride's march and that recessional piece. So make your recessional piece fun and upbeat. It's a very bouncy time. Songs like You Make My Dreams Come True by Hall & Oates, or You Are the Best Thing. I mean, there's so many, or You're My Best Friend. There's so many great ideas that you can use for that recessional song to lead into cocktail hour with a fun, bright, upbeat song. So those are some great tips for you to hopefully help you pick out your wedding ceremony music in a better way. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll see you next time on Lifting the Veil.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media.